Edem Ossai has written a book for the future. Edem Ossai looked at the past and decided to protect the future. And the protection of the future starts from today. This is a collection of books to prepare the children of today for the future. It's entitled Role Model Series for African Children. So who are the role models to be studied here? You will know as we go. Edem Ossai, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
It's good to be here. Hello.
How are you?
I'm very good. It's good to be here.
At the launch of this work, I was excited by your speech. I was inspired. Why are you so concerned about the future?
Because I have lived in many places and nowhere else feels like home except Nigeria. So it has to work. And my children, I think about the future of my children, and it has to work for them also. I'm also concerned because we have every potential for it to work. We just seem to, be majoring on the minor things and minoring on the major things. My book is a way that I want to arrest the young generation so that they can recalibrate. I feel that if we re-socialize the younger ones, then the desired future that all of us still hold dear in our hearts for this country is very possible. In every civilization I've visited or read about, at the heart of it or the kernel of it are a few people who put their hands to the plow to build their nations. What I think is missing in the factor of Nigeria or the equation is those people who will make the sacrifice consistently, concertedly, not giving up until the dream emerges. And so generations have come and we are still not there. It's simply a siren call to the ones coming after that unfortunately we're not handing over to them a nation that's already built. So they have a task and a role to play. This book is my way of signaling that the journey has started. People have already begun. And the potential lies within the next generation to also join the struggle and build the country.
You keep saying this book, and I'm thinking these books.
These books. So it's a collection, and I tend to view them as a single volume. But as you correctly point out, it's a volume of 5 strands. There are 5 individual stories written in this first collection. And we will, I'm sure you'll lead the conversation, but each of these stories is powerful, is profound, and it represents that message I'm passing on to every child. So even just encountering one story alone, I think it ignites in the spirit and the soul of the children, the promise that Nigeria will work. It must work. But Nigeria is not a phantom that will just happen. It's going to have to be people committing to the exercise of nation building. So I'm putting in front of them frontally in their prefrontal cortex evidence of people who have shaped the world through courage, through conviction, through competence. And so it's a clarion call to parents and to children. Build those 3 things: courage, deep conviction, and build your competence. And we're going to be well on our way to nation building.
So the focus here for African children, you have Adebayo the Guru. Adebayo the Guru. You have Wole Soyinka, the lionheart. The lionheart. Wole Soyinka, the lionheart. Kanu the Great. Kanu the Great. And you have here Bolanle the Pioneer. Bolanle the Pioneer. And we'll have Ngozi the Patriot. Ngozi the Patriot. You picked 5 Nigerians as your case study.
Yeah.
What informed the choice of these 5 Nigerians?
So, I once passed through Nigerian schools, and I know that, we've encountered Heroes like, Usman Dan Fodio, Amina of Zaria, and it interests me that in today's Nigeria, we're still regurgitating the same old names for our children. Not to say that their role in history should ever be erased, but it's sort of like we fossilized Nigeria into just one era. These individuals were picked because they're still recent. Their actions, their contributions are still, evident around us. They are all alive. That's the first thing. Secondly, they've recently been in the news. So it's not as if you're introducing children to names they can't relate to in eras and contexts they don't recognize, because the world has radically changed from the times when these people did exploits. So these were some of the reasons. Another reason, a very personal importance to me, is that all 5 of them have ties to Ibadan. I grew up in Ibadan. Ibadan, in my opinion, is a place where a lot of firsts happened in this country. Now, I discovered from writing the story of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala that she began her secondary school education in St. Anne's School, Ibadan. Professor Bolanle Awe, her parents were of Oshun descent, but, came in very early to the Okeado parts of Ibadan when those areas were occupied by the Lebanese, the Indians. And so her journey as a child, her childhood, blossomed in Ibadan. Adebayo Ogunlesi attended Abadina Primary School. I had no idea until I was writing this. His father, many people may know, is the first, professor of medicine in Nigeria, who had his, a lot of his professional life happened in the University College Hospital.
Wole Soyinka.
Wole Soyinka. You can't tell his story without talking about Ibadan days. He even writes about Ibadan days. So his life, a lot of the formation of Wole Soyinka, the activist, gained expression as a student in University of Ibadan, where he already began to interrogate and critique rules and systems. And then Kanu Nwankwo, I had no idea. I thought he was the outlier because he was a boy raised in Imo State, Owerri, right? His wife, Amara, was born and bred in Ibadan.
What is it about Ibadan?
Ibadan is a place where dreams take off. If Ibadan stays true to its founding heritage, Ibadan is a place where innovation should spring forth from in Nigeria. It holds the first citadel of learning. A citadel of learning is a place where creation happens. The brightest minds were incubated in Ibadan and found expression beyond just being trained here. They found expression here. The architects were able to build the first glass story structures here.
Femi Johnson.
The Femi Johnsons.
Cocoa
Look
House.
at them as Nwoko's work
That
at the
theater.
New Culture. Yes. Where before the world was talking about sustainability, a Nigerian and African prince was already bringing together nature and its elements into human living habitats. That is what that place represents, a fusion of human living, trading, socializing. It synthesizes all of human expressions in a single building. So Ibadan was a springboard for many of the finest ideas that have come out of this country. And I was so intrigued by the fact that, for whatever, maybe this is me being superstitious, the journeys of these individuals have some contact with this same city where its spiritual essence is about birthing new ideas.
Can we describe Ibadan as the intellectual capital of Nigeria?
Today.
From time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The Mbari clubs, the greatest expressions of ideas. Publishing. Look at Magazine Road. This was a place where if knowledge could be tangible.
Heinemann.
The Evans,
Macmillan.
they were all here, birthing ideas. University of Ibadan was a place that beyond just training students, people, turned it into tangible products and services.
You just mentioned Mbari Club, Chinua
Yes.
Achebe.
And then when they finished and left school, they were forming collectives, all in the city of Ibadan.
Even in this work, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's father
taught in the University of Ibadan. It was when Biafra broke out that he felt that his people needed him more at home. And so he made that decision. And then, the UNN had just invited him to be a senior lecturer. UI had also just promoted him to be a senior lecturer. But by that time, the news, the air was very tense with, the call for the succession of, the East. And so at that point in time, I think it was for him a very personal decision to go back home to his origins and to lend his intellect and physical strength and support to that cause, because they genuinely believe that Nigeria at its core was not, did not represent equity and justice. And so that was something he was willing to put his academic gown down for and pick up. He fought. He was a lieutenant in the battle with Ojukwu, So, yes, his family was here, and that was why I think they decided that Ngozi should start her secondary school education here. When she started in St. Anne's, she eventually moved to ISI. So she's had quite a foray. And, I think that has a lot of meaning in the choice of these 5 individuals who then, beyond even shaping country, went on to affect the globe in such tremendous ways.
Look at what you wrote about Ngozi here. You said Ngozi lived with her grandmother in the village until she was 9. Growing up in the village under the care of her grandmother was a mixed experience for Ngozi. She missed having her parents around throughout the years they were away pursuing their graduate studies in Germany.
Yes.
This Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala of what trade organization
grew
up in the village?
In the village. She's the first child of her parents. And her grandmother was taking care of herself and her younger siblings. So she wasn't only responsible for herself, she was responsible for managing the care of her younger ones. So by the age of 9, she was cooking, she was cleaning. So, you see these people as very accomplished. You think that they were born, with a silver spoon or, in such luxury. No, she developed her grit from village life. She was sleeping on the floor. You know how village life is. So she wasn't a woman surrounded by lavish or excess.
By this time, her parents had gone to Germany to study. Thank
you. So even though her grandmother was a loving woman, mom and dad are not there. So it's tough love. You've got to, so this was a girl who grew up with discipline ingrained in her.
She saw the Civil War.
Her education was even interrupted during the Civil War.
For 2 years, she could not go to school.
Couldn't go to school. They were, you see, air raids. Air raids, bombs are dropping, and communities you visited, markets you visited weeks ago, you come back and see it decimated.
There was something unique about her. She grew up in a family that loves knowledge.
Yes. Apart from her parents, all her uncles went on to hold, at least, those surrounding her were all PhD holders. In fact, when she went to university, she was of the mind that she would be an academic. She would go and teach. Because that was the world, that was what was in front of her. Everybody was a teacher. Her uncles were all professors, they were lecturers in universities.
Her father was a lecturer.
Her mother was you understand? So this was an academic family. She thought she too, she would get her PhD and go on to lecturing.
And she got her PhD from MIT.
Yes.
An Ivy League.
An Ivy League
She went to Harvard.
Yes. And graduated summa cum laude. So with distinction.
A
girl who came from the village, ravaged by a civil war, able to withstand the influences of one of the greatest institutions. When you say greater, what it means is that it's, traditional institutions in the United States like that are enclaves of learning, citadels of learning, pushing forth ideas, and then in such a liberal Western order. So it's radically different from the world that you come from. To maintain your focus, to go in with a sense of understanding of who you are, and a confidence that I'm enough. Because a lot of children, when they enter into such a space, they get lost because the influence is, it's dominating. So you either adapt, you code shift, you switch to fit in. So it talks about a lot of the foundational, the foundations of a woman like that they had imbued in her a sense of self, a sense of who your father is. To remember the child of whom you are. It is a child who remembers the father of whom she is or he is, and who feels confident that my father is good enough. That is why I'm bringing out books like this. Because the world now is a globalized chat room. If our children will walk in and not shrink, and they walk in boldly, they must believe in their father's name. They must believe that who their father is as good as any other person's father. And it's difficult because when you come from a society like ours where everything around you is reminding you that it is failing. In fact, the conversations we have in our average home, we're all lamenting. We're in a cycle of lamenting. Your children are picking it. So what is happening subtly is that there's a self-hatred that is forming in the African child. A sense of self-defeat, that the minute they are in a place of a global room with other people who are showing skyscrapers or subways and trains that are moving at the speed of light, they immediately feel intimidated. They immediately feel worthless. They immediately quail in shame and they can't assert themselves. And they allow the dominance of these other cultures and the influences of these other cultures to shape their decisions going forward. A girl like this is an example to put in front of children, that going with the sense that you come from a rich ancestry of people who conquered wildlands, savannas, mountaintops. We may not have skyscrapers, but in our ecology, we conquered nature. Man has dominated Earth. We have evidence of that. And in the systems that we've evolved into, financial sectors like Adebayo Ogunlesi, public sectors like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, finance, Bolanle Awe, who resisted Britain and told them Africa has its own history that is capable of being studied as an academic discipline. We've proven, Myrtle, that even with your own language, you see, this is not even a language that is, intrinsic or inherent to us. We took another man's language and assimilated another society's knowledge systems. And these people have still managed to shine because it's a dissonance. They've divorced us from who we are, but still we took who they are and we're still excelling. I need our children to see evidence that our ancestors and their fathers are capable and competent. So don't shrink yourself. Don't change yourself. Don't announce that, I'm from California, where you are from, just because, they gave birth to you. So a lot of things are happening. And in our homes are outposts for America and Britain. Your house in Bodija is an embassy for the United Kingdom. So I need to put these images and stories and narratives before our children because the world order now is globalized and everybody is trying to measure the contributions of every race and every civilization. That is the purpose.
The story you told about Bolanle Awe wanting to study African history, and she was told what they had at the time was more of colonial history. She put her feet down.
She put her foot down. So she was, at that time, she had gone on to, do her A-levels in the United Kingdom. She went on to, do her university. And then she was trying to pursue her graduate school. And for grad school, she wanted to major in African history. And then she met resistance. Mind you, Nigeria was still a colony. And the professors and supervisors said to her, there's nothing like African history. Your history is not written. This is a girl who came from, she could trace her family lineage. She knew it. It was even documented. When you say somebody's history. So that's why the work we do in our families is very critical for children. Already, her uncle was a rich cocoa farmer in Osun State, who paid the way of many of his, children and siblings' children to go on to school. So she had a rich history of people who had been successful financially, and they had documented their success. So when you say to her, Africa has, and then she had gone to powerful schools, encountered great teachers. In fact, Ighodalo, Nigeria's first female permanent secretary, was her teacher, who taught mathematics. Her teacher, Ighodalo, is the mother of Itwa Ighodalo and Asu Ighodalo, who ran for governorship, who recently contested for the gubernatorial race in Edo State. These were the kinds of people that were teaching Bolanle Awe. And so to tell her in a foreign land that she comes from a place with no history, she said, what are you saying?
Look at how you put it here. It said, therefore, when asked, Bolanle immediately answered that she intended to focus on African history for her postgraduate work.
Yes.
It came as a huge surprise to Bolanle when, following her answer, her professor responded that there was no such thing as African history. According to the lady professor, Africa had no history, and the closest thing to the notion of African history was colonial history. Bolanle was immediately taken aback. Beyond reading several books on African history, Bolanle had also heard various accounts of different aspects of Yoruba culture from family members and various teachers during her childhood. Now, the part I love most, he said at that point, the history dawn informed Bolanle that due to her impossible choice of subject interest, the prestigious Somerville College, Oxford, could not admit her for postgraduate work.
Studies.
Refusing to compromise, Bolanle politely exited the meeting. Courage.
Courage.
She knew what she wanted.
Rooted in conviction.
Yeah.
Because you are telling me something. It's like you're saying this wall is green. I'm seeing blue. What are you telling me? But a lot of our children cannot summon up that level of conviction and then back it up with courage. Because courage comes from a deep-rooted understanding of self and purpose. She had it. We must arm our children with a deep-rooted recognition of self and an understanding of purpose. So that anywhere in the room, if they want to derail them, this Bolanle Awe, many of us have seen her, she was tiny. Tiny. Oh.
She's still tiny.
Thank you.
That tiny professor.
That tiny professor. So imagine her as a small
very
girl.
big.
Big dynamite.
You know, when she comes into the hall, you know Bolanle Awe has arrived.
And her father taught her something when she was growing up. He said, anywhere you go, any program you've been part of, take the mic and speak at the end. A question if you have one, or a thank you to the organizers if you have no question. But never leave a room without making them remember that you were there.
You know, at some point, mommy wasn't wanted here.
You saw that part. Mother's not needed.
Yes.
Her mother cared for, you know how it is, you're taking your children to boarding school. So you want to pack their clothes for them. And then people were laughing at her. She was entering boarding school for the first time. So she quickly wrote a telegram for the next holiday and said, mother not needed. Don't come again.
I can take care of myself.
Take care of myself. Can our children do that today? Or are we mommying them too much? This is a question for us as parents.
Okay. Are you mommying the children?
Too much.
Too much. She eventually became the first professor of history.
Female
professor
yes.
of history.
And first female professor entirely in the University of Ibadan. The only other female was not an appointed lecturer, but a woman sent in from, the UK or Britain on a fellowship. So Bolanle Awe is the first female lecturer in the University of Ibadan.
Is that why you call it Bolanle the Pioneer?
She's the pioneer. And Bolanle the Pioneer because she insisted to Britain that Africa's history is capable of being studied as an academic discipline. So she's one of the reasons why African history finally made its way into even British curriculum. Because you see, the reason why that Dawn refused to treat it as such was because she has, how do you supervise a work that you yourself have not encountered? So the student is even far more capable than you. So because of Bolanle Awe's, courage and, as I said earlier, conviction, she forced an academic system to bow into submission to the recognition that its colonies had a history that needed to be integrated into their, systems of education.
You are such a smooth storyteller. Reading the series, I said, Edem can tell stories.
I'm hoping the children feel that
in a
way.
Captivating way. I just kept reading. Just kept reading as if I didn't know them before. I said, just read with an open mind, as if you've not met Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala anywhere. At all.
The truth is, for me, I was encountering all of these individuals also for a first time. Because, we encounter them in the pages of the newspaper, but we don't encounter a round profile. I've never encountered Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as a child. So it was a first discovery for me. I've always loved to gist. I'm a gister. And I remember growing up, when I go into some place or read a book or watch a movie, I always loved to gist people about it. Gist is our local, colloquial way of saying narrate it, right? So I said to myself, why don't I gist children? But you see, to gist children, you must simplify the language. So I tried to do that, and I'm hoping to hear from the children whether I succeeded.
You succeeded. It is lucid.
Great.
It flows.
You're not a child, though.
I read with the mind of a child.
Good.
That's why I said, I said, okay, Edmund.
Step down.
Step down. You don't know Okonjo. You've not gone to school.
Good.
So I said, it is lucid. Papilo?
Yes! Our own Kanu Nwankwo.
Do you like Papilo?
I love Papilo.
Tell me about Papilo.
I love
And you
Papilo.
wrote about Papilo.
So this guy, he never had... So this person that we all celebrate, this, famous guy, top scorer for Arsenal, right? Was trained on the streets of Tetlo Street. People in Imo State, Owerri, when they hear that name, these were streets that were named after our former colonial lords. He came from a very humble background. His father by that time was a retired public servant. His mother was a petty trader. There were 2 other brothers and then about 3 stepbrothers. So 5 boys, no money, poor boy. In fact, he says that was a street boy. So it's not today where you put your child has football talent, you go and put them in. Even in Ibadan, we should take them to Adamasingba Stadium small, right? The streets grew your talent, or you had nowhere to grow your talent at all, right? This was a boy who was a fanatic. He was fanatic about football. Now, at the time, they were not thinking about football as careers. It was just a passion and a love that just could not, I don't know, it was like consumed him. So every waking hour, this boy was playing football. But he developed his skill, his technique, his prowess with playing with, they will use rubber. So improvisation, we think that, I say this because we need to recognize that as limited as our environments are, it can still produce talent. Whatever the limitation, it can produce geniuses. These people were using stones, mock rubber, old tires to set up mock football pitches. They will use the street. When cars want to pass, they will disassemble their football pitch. The car will pass, they will assemble it back again. They didn't have fancy football boots. They didn't have, in fact, if they fall on the ground, they will come up with bruises and cuts and everything. This is how these boys develop technique. Not green grass, lovely smooth grass. This boy at some point, because he used to fall sick, they told him, his parents at some point, that this boy has a hole in his heart. He will not, don't allow him to do strenuous things. But his father and his mother, they didn't have money to take him to a big city hospital. They didn't have money. Simple. In fact, sometimes they won't eat. These boys will not see food to eat. I'm trying to do the kind of poverty, like humble conditions they grew up in. He didn't go to secondary school after primary. So, Nwankwo Kanu, his passion and discipline, right, kept opening further doors for him. His school discovered his talent early and started putting him in school matches. And that was how, at some point, he joined the standard local leagues, found himself into Iwayamu National. And that was the beginning of the takeoff.
That lanky Kanu.
Lanky Kanu, with a hole in his heart.
When I saw him in the Under-17 World Cup in Japan.
Lanky Kanu.
So this lanky guy.
So, you see, guts. And then if you read this book, the children I'm writing this for, when they read this book, because life is, you must prove, life will test you. You must prove yourself. For 3 years, this guy was benched. Everybody wrote him off. I'm fast forwarding now to later, his later career, international, he was already an international player. Do you know what it means for 3 years to be written off? So you are in the depths of depression because you want to believe in yourself, but everything your environment is telling you, no, your time don't pass. It's over. The minute you open any radio, any TV commentary, you are hearing, oh, he's a sensation of the past. Old-time glory. Kanu is gone. Kanu is dead. Career dead. Oh, died before takeoff. Stillbirth. Oh, this, his glory days. Oh, it's good for him. He recorded the Olympics, Get it. So for 3 years, but you still believe. I'm saying this because life will test you. And given the environment we live in, Nigeria in particular, Nigeria is a dream that is always, aborted. And a lot of people have given up. Those who will build Nigeria are those who will have staying power. It's
like
not
Kanu.
Yes, you see, this is a marathon.
We thought his career was over. At some point when he joined Inter Milan, he bounced back. This was a guy coming from a heart surgery, repaired aortic valve in his heart. In fact, it took him over 6 months to be able to walk again. So even you yourself, you yourself as the individual, you've seen the fragility of your body. The man who believed in him, Arsene Wenger, who gave him a chance, right, had a history of working with players with injuries. So understood that in life, those who shine in life are those whose mind over matter, whose minds can subdue their bodies. That is, who present in this world a stubborn insistence
that I will excel. Those are the people that life, bows down to. And Kanu had what it took.
You said in February 1999, Nwankwo Kanu's prayers were answered. Arsene Wenger, one of the greatest club managers in football history, approached the managers of Inter Milan to sign Nwankwo from them so that he would play for the famous English club Arsenal. All the popular football commentators described the move as a foolish one. However, Arsene Wenger had watched Nwankwo's previous matches, both before and after his heart surgery, and was convinced that he remained an exceptionally brilliant player. To him, undergoing a heart surgery did not signal the end of Nwankwo's football career, as seemed to be the general sentiment in the media and among several football club managers. That means in life, we always need an Arsene Wenger.
You do. But you see, you also must match the support of the Arsene Wengers with your winning spirit. The reason why Arsene Wenger could take a chance on Kanu was because Kanu did not leave the arena. Kanu could have resigned. 3 years is a long time in a footballer's life. Many people would have counseled him, leave this thing, go and start another this thing, go and start another. The guy stayed there.
The power of conviction.
Yes. Don't leave the arena, don't leave the game. Don't leave the game. You believe in yourself. Stay there. Help is coming. It also teaches us that life is a collaboration. Because that later, picture that emerged needed the collaboration of a Kanu with a winning streak and a Wenger who would take a chance on a player like that. So we need to find our collaborators. We can't do this journey alone. That's also been sometimes the error of people in the past. The ideologues, the Puritans, the reformers. It is a collaborative journey. You must find, like minds and be strategic. This manager of a famous English club, not a little leagues club, not a small trenches club, right, came calling for Kanu Nwankwo. Your bright spark is there. The silver lining is really there. But don't stop trafficating your light.
Kanu. See the Olympics.
I described that. I described the football, that in the semi-finals, the game with the game with Brazil. That was the semi-finals. The finals with Argentina.
Yeah.
2 tough countries. But the game that just broke everybody's mind was the game with Brazil. That entry, extra time.
Yeah.
That magic.
Golden goal.
That golden. No. Children must read this.
No, you have to read these stories. They are so motivational and inspiring. You have to read these stories. Adebayo Ogunlesi, the guru, the investment banker.
The investment guy.
I didn't know about him on time.
A lot of people. Let me tell you how I discovered this man also. Burna Boy song. As I dey hustle like Adebayo Ogunlesi. That there's a song anyway. So anywhere I go, mo lati pada sile mi. And in that phrase, he has, a whole line that celebrates this Adebayo Ogunlesi. So I said, who is this guy? So I started studying. Now, sometime last year, 2024 or late 2020, last year, 2024, Adebayo Ogunlesi broke the internet when his company was bought over by BlackRock. BlackRock is one of the major investment firms in the entire world, and they bought his shares. They bought over his company for $12 billion cash, $12.5 billion, and then stock options. So the internet scattered. Prior to this time, he's a quiet guy. Has always wanted to be outside the limelight. But a powerful achiever. So, a lawyer turned investment banker. For many years was a Wall Street banker. The first and only black guy to rise to CEO directorship levels in the Wall Street Bank in America. Banking in America is a traditionally white institution. You now see this black guy. He's not just heading a department or a unit, right? He's heading entire risk management. Then at some point, it was rumored that he was going to, after the dot-com bubble, there was this whole scandal. Warren Buffett, who's a major investor in the Swiss General Bank that he was heading, They were about to appoint Adebayo Ogunlesi. He would have been the first ever black CEO of a major Wall Street bank in America. But after the dot-com bubble, I think the man had had enough. So at the age of 56, just at the point when he was about to be announced as the first black man in a traditionally white institution, bank in America, he walked away and went and 56. So a lot of people have written off themselves and their lives and their 40s. Went and started his entrepreneurial journey and founded his investment, firm, Global Infrastructure Partners.
At 56.
At 56, right? Yeah, good thing is his networks, he could rally around some funding, but he was mocked. That this small firm, I like the underdog. I like the stories of people who dare to start, because life is, everything starts from little seeds. So this guy takes his small network, musters some small investments, and begins to begins to make investments. Fast forward less than half a decade after, less than 5 years, he owns 3 international airports: London City Airport, Gatwick Airport. What's the other airport in the United Kingdom that his firm owns? Begins to make major investments. They own Italy's rail infrastructure, and and every infrastructure he invests in, he transforms. So waiting time, response time in the airports, he makes those little changes that makes the experience and the service, more, just enjoyable for customers.
He's a transformer.
A transformer. And the kind of investments this man is making, places where people don't go to, places where people don't have the liver, the courage to go to. Let me shock children. Adebayo Ogunlesi hated maths as a child, struggled with maths as a child. But you know what this guy did? This is why I write these stories for young people. When he went on to Harvard to do his grad school in law, he went and put himself to do an MBA. At the same time, with a law degree, a master's in law, he was running 2 master's programs concurrently. MBA is all quantitative, it's maths. He said he wanted to put himself in the middle of numbers so that he will conquer the fear of numbers. You don't run away from your weaknesses. You go and sharpen them, you go and build them. You go and build them. That's what this man did. So when we're celebrating, he owns this airport, he owns this, there is a story there. And that's what I put in the hands of our children.
You said the man who bought Gatwick Airport. At London Gatwick Airport, the company again introduced innovations such as oversized luggage trays that cut security screening times by more than half.
Absolutely.
That's innovation.
Innovation.
Freeing passengers to spend more in restaurants and shops where GIP received a concession. These boosted revenues as expected. 3 years later, in 2012, GIP bought another major airport, the Edinburgh Airport, which was described as the busiest airport in Scotland and the 9th busiest airport in Europe.
Yeah, in Europe.
In 2019 alone, the airport handled over 14.7 million passengers. He knows how to make money.
He knows how to make money.
Africa needs money.
We do.
But good money.
Good money. Good money that builds, and there's something you can see what it is. Where's the money around?
Yes, you can connect it to productivity.
To products and services.
Yeah.
You can connect it. We have examples, living examples. Let's put that in front of our children. We can build big businesses around new kinds of tires that can fit our old roads.
When you were writing these works, what was going through your mind?
You know how you want to look for a building and fly off that building? Because you just feel like, we have capes, invisible capes. We can conquer the world. We can build our own civilization that will attract people to come and witness it. We have the intellect. We have people who've because you see, sometimes it's hard. You're surrounded by, forgive me, the most shallow leaders and politicians, and suddenly you're going into places and children are calling the names of politicians, and now you are in a world where the only denominator of success is money.
Why is it so? Because it's money.
It's an era we live in, and it's compounded by social media, because social media shows you the finished product, whether it's the individual, so you never see the process. So you see, stories like this show you process. An Instagram page doesn't show you process. It shows you a finished good. It shows you a finished individual. It shows
Sometimes
you a
they are
final
fake
individual.
finishing.
A lot of it is fake. A lot of it, if I want to look at it now, the 24 hours today, most of my day I've been rough, I've been hassled, I've made this. But when I want to show the Instagrammers, I'll go and do my makeup. I'll go and sit in a nice corner of my house. In fact, you should be skeptical at any picture you see on social media because it's fiction, as far as I'm concerned. It's fictional. A lot of the images we put out there are fictional elements of our lives. They are how we want our lives to be, right? They are the 1 minute of the rest of the entire day. They're just a simple nugget. They're not the entirety of our lives. But that's what we're putting in front of children now. And a whole generation is seeing finished goods. Finished. They're not seeing the factory
Is
behind.
this encouraging fraud? Because you see young persons now, they are Yahoo boys.
Yeah.
And they are proud of it.
Yeah.
You see young ladies,
Yeah.
they are on the streets.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't say it's a compound of other factors. It's also a factor of when merit fails. So yes, on the one hand, you're seeing images of what success looks like, and success only looks like, fame and money, right? So that's social media's rule. But then the lanes that are the merit lanes are not yielding the outcomes that merit lanes were supposed to yield. So if after I went through process and I didn't get the desired outcome, what it signals to the young individual is that this is a foolish road to take. Going all these years through a rigorous education and at the end of it you can't guarantee yourself a job is a foolish man's choice, right? So we are sending signals that continuously, reprogram people's mindsets towards or against process. Societies that want people to take the path of merit must prove to society, to their children and generations, that merit does indeed yield reward.
And that's what you've done with these books.
That's what I'm showing. There is reward. Just allow the process happen. There is reward. And these images you see, they're not enduring. They're not enduring. They are flash in the pan. They're going to be tested, and will they be able to withstand those tests when life comes knocking, as life is bound to come knocking? So that's why I insist that young people must undergo process. Build your competencies. The only thing is that competency must be defined by the era in which you exist in. So competency is not competency when I was in school, for instance. The world is demanding a different set of skills. So you must be aware of those new demands and new skills being demanded for, right? The industrial era, we're just seeing the last residue of it. It has gone. We are now in a hyper-personalized era of social media. It's a huge information age now, where we can build brands around ourselves, where now the podcaster is more popular than the CEO of a huge corporation. That's the world you live in. So introduce or integrate into whatever you have storytelling. Understand the power of the media. There are no gates anymore that are keeping you away from reaching the broad audiences. So understand those powers and integrate it, right? But have a product or a service. It's not about just showing yourself, and no shade to any influencer, but what are you influencing? Towards what end? What does it do for the collective? How far does it take us? And what does progress look like after you've done your influencing? These are questions we must ask.
Adebayo the Guru, Kanu the Great, Ngozi the Patriot. Why Patriot?
So if you read this story, and many people who were aware when she was Madam Minister, you will experience the personal, sacrifices that she had to make. A child wants to be responsible for bringing their parents, glory, peace of mind, enjoyment. But in the time when she stood for her principles, by reason of that, commitment to principles, her mother in her 90s was abducted by unscrupulous oil marketers, right? And they couldn't find it, and they were being threatened that if you don't step down as minister, it's not even just about reversing subsidy. They said, just go, your wahala is too much. Okonjo-Iweala was her name. That was the nickname given to her, because she was introducing certain reforms, and her goal was to make sure that Nigeria's oil wealth benefited the majority of Nigeria's population, as opposed to a minority elite, population. So she was stepping on a lot of toes and affecting industries, personal industries and industrial complexes that had been built. So I call her a patriot because I want people to re-examine and go back and revisit the meaning of patriotism. When your country needs you, and in the way that it needs you, will you be there? Patriotism will call for us in different ways, certain commitments and sacrifices. I use her example because her own call for to be a patriot was at the expense of, I will kill your mother if you don't leave this patriotic route you have taken. But her father pumped her with energy. He said, look, we're in our 90s. We've lived our lives. We want to die in our beds. But if that is not the case, don't let anybody, manipulate you, coerce you, induce you on the basis of our death. Let us die by any means necessary. Don't step down. It was on the basis of that, affirmation from her father, that she stood her ground.
She gave us excess crude account.
Thank you. One of the many reforms that Okonjo-Iweala is credited to her tenure as Madam Minister.
And the debt burden that was lifted. 18 billion.
18 billion. The digitization of payment platforms, many things.
Youth Enterprise with Innovation program. You win.
You win. Many people benefited
from it. Rebasing of Nigeria's GDP.
Yes. That led us to suddenly be ranked co-equal with South Africa in terms of our GDP.
Two-time Minister of Finance.
Two-time Minister of Finance, coordinating Minister of the Economy. Because the economy could not be treated in silos, so put her on top of the game,
We are proud of her.
We're proud. She's a good example to put in front of our children.
From the World Bank to World Trade Organization, Director General.
Earning big money. So she didn't have to, she took that because she wanted to serve fatherland.
She married her love.
She did. She did.
The neurosurgeon.
And they met when she was in secondary school. I like to think they met in Ibadan. So her secondary school started here and then ended in Queen's School, Enugu. So many times he was also here in Ibadan. So my thing.
She went to the College of Medicine here.
No. Her husband.
Her husband went to the College of Medicine.
So I don't know if he studied here.
Okay.
I don't know his own story in depth to be able to say that confidently. But he also has strong ties. I don't know if it was just his housemanship. A lot of them would come for housemanship in UCH or his residency. But he also has contact with Ibadan in his education.
And she was able to manage family and work.
And family is so integral to them in this story. In fact, one of the reasons why she resisted accepting the call to serve when former President Obasanjo first invited her was that her last son was still in high school. So it would mean that she won't be there while this boy, is still completing. High school is secondary school. And so she asked, it was a family decision to tell you how, as a family, they were integrated and, major decisions of that nature, father, mother, children would put heads together.
And the two women you featured in this series are family women.
Family women.
And they are top professionals.
Top professionals. Because at the kernel of every society is a family. So family is really powerful. Family is the nucleus. When we get it right in families at scale, societies do well.
You also speaks about getting a supporting spouse.
Very important. Very important. Without it,
because some men can be intimidated.
Yes. Yes.
Even absolutely. Professor Bolanle Awe's husband.
Yes, absolutely. He was a professor too.
Yes.
A physicist, professor of physics. Successful by his rights. But as you rightly point out, not many people will be able to stand and allow one woman to be gaining all this prominence, to be moving. It's one thing to even be gaining this prominence, but then you're stationary. It's another thing for them to be calling you, you're traveling here today, you're traveling there tomorrow. It takes a lot of accommodation. It takes a lot of partnership because two people have to make compromises. And this was a very busy medical professional, a very successful medical physician in the United States, So a physician in the United States, a physician is a busy individual. You're on call. So that means a lot of strain on the family. If two of them don't work in synergy, the family fractures.
Kongi, Wole Soyinka, the lionheart. Why lionheart?
Man, this man, and right from when he was a child, though. It's not today. Professor Wole Soyinka, this thing did not just follow him when he was studying theatre arts. Right from when he was just different. I write this because, and I'm hoping parents also read this. There are signs that your children are showing you at early ages, telling you who they are already. Telling you who they are. Don't dim the light. Follow it and nurture it. This boy, everything they say don't do, that's the one that Professor Wole Soyinka wants to do. Because for him, he always wanted to know why. The question why defined his whole childhood. It's not about I will disobey. It's not about I just want to know why. So in fact, adults started running away from him because his father was a clergyman with a lot of intellectual, ability. I mean, they had libraries in the house. So a lot of friends would be coming. His father is nicknamed S.A. A lot of friends used to come to the house for debates. They would just be having seminal debates. So this boy grew up around those kinds of environments. Those same men that would come for debates used to run away from Wole Soyinka because even at that age, his question never finished. You tell him the answer, he will say why. He will say why. Until you get to a point where you see that logic has ended. It would expose you, the adult, for the non-thinker that you are, because it means that at some point you embraced a path or some ideology because tradition said so. Whereas he is interrogating further. Why? So oftentimes adults got to the limits of their own logic. It's just the way it is. You can't tell a Wole Soyinka it's just the way it is. So from a very early age, when he saw that adults had no answers, which is typically the case with many adults, we just use our authority and bragado to bamboozle children. We don't have answers. So this guy will begin to explore by himself. They told him, don't look at Egungun masquerade. That's when Oga Wole Soyinka decided to stand on the fence, to see this masquerade by himself. The masquerade now called this day, where is your father, the pastor? That's when he now said, so this man that has not encountered me, this masquerade that doesn't know me, how come it knows that I am the son of a pastor? His brain at the very early was already thinking, twirling. I don't know I forget the age he was when he he snuck out of the compound and followed a police band that was going around all the, villages. Wole Soyinka followed the police band from Ake village to Ibarakpa. He was age 6 at the time. An infant, trekked from villages. What's the closest village to? Let me say, after Ibadan, what's the next? Is he saying, Abi, where do we meet next? I don't recall the next boundary village. But think about a long trekking distance. This boy walked, he was just following in awe. Police band. Inquisitive. We tell children curiosity kills the cat. Wole Soyinka proves the latter art as part of that proverb, that idiom that says curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back.
Remember his mother too.
He calls her wild. He used to call her he has a name for her because she was a prayer warrior. She was hyper religious, wild Christian. Wole Soyinka nicknamed his mother Wild Christian. Even in his later works, she was uber religious. And, she just was frustrated by this enigma of a boy who would not stop asking questions. But this woman nurtured he's a syncretic. Very early, he understood that, Christian philosophies coexisted with African traditions because, our own epistemologies. Yeah. We had them because she'll be telling him tales about the different the masquerades, the different spirits. She'll be gisting him out when she was a child, when they go to the forest, this and that. So he understood that there was a coexistence of the Christian Holy Spirit and the African demons, and he was curious. So he didn't accept the demonization of African spiritual expression.
You can see it in his writing.
You can see it in his writing. And then he took the power of his writing. He's one of the people who discovered that, from very early, he discovered that theater didn't only have to be entertainment. Theater could be a medium for communities and societies to negotiate and demand attention, to express needs and demand from power, the right kind of investment and the right kind of, governance. So he began to wield theater very early as an activist platform. He began to use theater to interrogate society, to critique society, to parody society, to parody African leaders. He had to be very vast, even in information. So he was a very well-read individual. He's somebody who mastered the language of the Englishman very early and wielded it as a sword in his own, crusade for better societies. He was an individual who believed in justice at the core, and so always spoke for the defenseless, would look at where power is organized, understood that life is power dynamics, and that oftentimes power privileges itself over others. And so you have to confront power so that power democratizes itself. So he used the power of his, writing and his theater performance to critique power, to democratize power, to make sure that the ordinary man was not neglected.
Some will always point at pirates as a dent. Is pirate a dent?
Not in the way he conceptualized pirate. Nothing is static, and that's the irony of things. At the end of the day, I always tell people, institutions, when you leave the veil of institutions, you find human beings. The people who set up Pirates, the founding, individuals behind Pirates as a confraternity, it was a secret society because he wanted it out of the administration's eyes in university, right? He didn't want it subject to regulatory, all those type of things that stifle, because he wanted to be, that society to be an expression against injustice and power. But at the time, the people behind the founding force behind it was driven by that core ideal. Now, what happens over the years is that people love a shiny thing, a shiny coin, and people want to go there. But are they necessarily the people that will sustain the spirit and the letter of what the founding fathers envisaged? So, because over the years, Pirates has not lived up to its, original intent, now we question it in society. And also for me, just to also make it clear that, because we adore Professor Wole Soyinka, no human being, right, is without foibles. I personally believe that anything that is shrouded in secrecy and not open to transparency is always going to be a very difficult, exercise in society to conform it.
But secret is part of life.
Secrets are part of life, but when you build institutions around secrecy,
even the Catholic Church has some secret rituals. Yes,
everybody has those secret rituals. But you see, because this is supposed to be an instrument for the reform of society, like it has a very, religious institutions have their, it's like even in the Bible, you have the Holy of Holies. Not everybody was supposed to be privy to the Holy of Holies, right? So there's always those, religion as a domain is different from governance or secular society and, engineering or anything that seeks to, negotiate power. I think that a society that was birthed to confront institutions of power is dangerous when it is shrouded as a secret society. Because by extension, it in itself, it cannot then be questioned. It cannot then be held accountable even to its own founding ideologies. That's the challenge. So if we're practicing religion, and we know the dangers that come with even those religious practices that are shrouded in secrecy, because at the kernel of every institution is a human being. And when you empower such people with such powerful positions, and they're still human beings, frail as we are, then you are bound to be exposed to the foibles of human beings. But then they are so protected and immunized or inoculated against criticism because of the secrecy that, binds them.
Wole the lionheart. Is Wole this mystery gunman? You are a lawyer.
Let them read it.
Let them read it, right?
Let them read it.
Have you heard the story of the mystery gunman? The man who went into Radio Nigeria with a pistol.
And a recorded broadcast. And put a gag on the...
Is it Soyinka?
Read it now. It's not from my mouth.
Okay.
What did the court say?
It's a mystery gunman.
He's still a mystery gunman.
Yes.
Nobody has put a name to that mystery gunman, so let us preserve that name. Let's still leave him a mystery gunman.
Look, I'm saying lionheart.
Wole the lionheart.
Lion, bold.
Bold.
This
man was writing with tissue paper from prison.
The tissue man died.
The man, they've already incarcerated you. You still won't shut up. You still must. When you're consumed by a burning fire for freedom, for justice, these things, they are invisible. In fact, if he could write in the air, he would probably write in the air. We must have a fire burning in our children. That's just what I've seen from these 5 people. You can't raise people to be chasing money and a job, and then you can't. There must be more to you. There must be more to you. There must be more to you.
You have inspired me.
To do what?
Reading your work and reading about this man, I just felt I've not done enough. I need to do more.
Okay, that's really good.
Because
with all that you're doing, it's good.
I want to be written about.
Yes, absolutely.
So I need to do more.
Do more.
I'm inspired to do more.
Yeah, we must keep doing more as long as God
gives us.
We
have a country to build.
We have.
Soyinka won a Nobel Prize in literature.
In literature, the first black man.
We are proud of him.
We are. But you know how we love to celebrate the final accolade? We were still criticizing him for storming into that radio station. We were still criticizing him. You know how Africa, Nigeria, just human beings in general. Can't you just keep quiet? Why rock the boat? Why rock the boat? Are you the only one?
You know, his role in the Biafra, in that war,
Thank
sent
you.
him to prison.
Yes, because he was trying to do everything possible to negotiate with the forces that, were to prevent the war from breaking out. He went to see the then General Olusegun Obasanjo. He went to see even Dim Odumegu Ojukwu. He went there. He braved the odds. And that was why the administration at the time, deemed him a felonious, citizen.
He fought Abacha. He went on exile.
Climbed Okada. Rode from his house. You know what it means to drive Okada on the expressway? To escape through Benin Republic. Because they would have, this. So it also talks about, strategy. Right? There's a strategy to this thing. Because when he left, his voice was amplified. His voice was amplified. He didn't stop the fight. He was going around heads of states, going for every world, meeting of world leaders to fight that there must be pressure mounted on the administration in Nigeria. The military government of Nigeria must be pressured to release its clutches from the people of that great nation.
Role model series. Are we expecting more? We just have 5.
This is the first volume. Volume 2 is in the works.
Okay.
For the next 5 years, I'm on a mission to unearth the stories of 50 great role models for African children. I'm completing in the next 5 years 50 stories of 50 Nigerians. I'm also in talks with colleagues in Ghana because I want to unearth the stories of some of the great heroes and icons who have, contributed to the world and to Ghana's own history, for the Ghanaian market, for even all of us, because we must hear our stories of our counterparts in other parts of the continent. So I'm going to be working, this is, like I said, the title was very intentional, for African children. I'm not writing for Nigerian children alone, because we have a continent to build. So I'm going to be going around these different countries. It's a vision, it's a mission, and God giving me life and grace, I'm going to persevere in it. But I want to, the listeners can be, confident that in the next 5 years, by the grace of the Almighty God, will put out 50 stories of 50 Nigerians who have done wonderful things. And these are both recent, and I'll go a little bit into the past, for those who are also, late. I will also capture stories of those the media and the newspapers have celebrated, and those they have neglected to celebrate. I will find them. I will unearth their stories for the easy reading, pleasurable reading of our children. It's enough that we're only putting out autobiographies for adult-centered readers. Our children must be introduced very early to the lives of these great icons. And when they see that these people came from very ordinary backgrounds, I want to demystify poverty. It's not an excuse. I want to demystify your lack of a, fancy education. It's not an excuse. I want to demystify the fact that you grew up in a village, in rural Shagamu, or in rural... It is not an excuse. So all the things we put out when we say other people had a head start, it is that, look at Kanu Nwankwo. So I want to shatter all those excuses, and I'm going to bring out stories of people who have just quietly and visibly been doing different things that form the construct of a nation.
Are you going to write about Dora Akunyili?
Yes. We're letting the cat out of the bag. Dora Akunyili is a person Nigeria's story cannot be written without Madame Dora Akunyili. She saved many lives. She fought counterfeit drug producers at the expense of her life. They shot her. They attempted to get her, to kill her many times. The hole in her gele. I hope it is. I don't know. Museums are not doing their work, because that gele should be mounted in a museum to show children that this is the risk you take when you stand for something. You stand for something meaningful. It is a risk. What's this life that nobody's getting out of this life alive. We're all going to go someday. Why don't we stand for something while we were here? Right? I'm not trying to say everybody should be a freedom fighter. Let your life have meaning. If it's flowers you're planting in an ugly environment, plant the flowers. If it's cleaning the gutters, please clean the gutters. Every little thing matters in a country like ours.
You want to read about Dora Akunyili. Her daughter, Chidiogo Akunyili-Pa, has written the story of her mother. The book is entitled I Am Because We Are. The story of Dora Akunyili. I recommend this book to you. Read this book and you would understand the power of courage, the power of conviction. Dora Akunyili is a story you should read. I Am Because We Are, the story of Dora Akunyili. And I think this book will help you in your research.
It is.
About her.
Yes.
So this is your book.
Whoa! 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 So children, we're on the way to putting out the story for your own enjoyment. The story, thank you, Edmund.
Thank you.
This is a fantastic gift in 2025. Wow.
And thank you for this journey. This is a mission.
It is.
It excites me.
It is.
It excites me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
and
you.
Don't give up. You're right in style. Anyway, I've always known Edem to be that African woman that I'm proud of.
Oh, thank you.
So don't stop. We want to write about you too.
Yes, yes.
And
yes.
Your story is also the story of Ibadan.
It is.
You know, your daddy too.
Yes, yes.
That's a great African.
Yes.
That archaeologist.
Yes.
Former DVC.
Of the University of Ibadan.
Of the University of Ibadan.
I always tell people, I say, what you have when you were born to a father who's an archaeologist and a mother who was a TV producer is a person who digs in and exhumes the past and then broadcasts the stories. So this is it's a crystallization of my roots as the child of an archaeologist and a TV producer.
So get the lyrics, read them, look at the pack, well packaged. Buy it for your children. The future is here, and we have to protect it. Edem Ossai has started a mission, and we're on that mission together. So let's read. Let's save the future. Edem Ossai, thank you for featuring on State Affairs.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.